You wake up, go through your day, thoughts fill your mind, and you begin your usual routine. Everything seems so real. Your thoughts, your experiences, your sense of self. You know you're thinking, you know you're acting, and you believe you are in control of it all. But what if this sense of control isn't as real as it seems? Let's take a moment to step back. You're not just a passive observer of your thoughts. You're not simply experiencing your life as it unfolds. Instead, you've been so wrapped up in this self that you mistake it for who you truly are. The mind constantly feeds you the idea that you are the thinker, the doer, the one in control. But here's the truth. The you you're identifying with is actually an illusion. Consider the moment when you're caught in deep thought. Maybe you're planning your day or recalling a memory. You're the one who feels in control of the thoughts, but think about this. Where do these thoughts actually come from? If you stop for a second and just listen, they appear without you consciously choosing them. They seem to emerge from nowhere and are shaped by everything you've experienced, but you didn't decide when they would appear. In that moment, who is really observing them? Take a look at the concept of the observer. In the world of philosophy, great thinkers like Jiddu Krishnamurti, Alan Watts, and Eckhart Tolle all talked about this. They explained that the self you identify with is not the true you, but a mental construct. This construct, the ego, is constantly trying to convince you that it's the one in control, that it's the one thinking, planning, and reacting. But in reality, the true you is the observer of all of this. This may sound abstract, but let's ground this concept in a real-life example. Consider the runner, Catherine Switzer, who participated in the Boston Marathon in 1967. As she raced through the streets, she faced resistance, physical exhaustion, and mental fatigue. Yet, in that moment of intense pain and difficulty, her sense of self, the one thinking and reacting to the struggles, started to fade. She didn't focus on herself, her pain, or her identity as a runner. Instead, she just ran. In that space, her ego dissolved, and she became pure awareness of the race itself, not the person running it. That moment is an example of what it means to be the true observer. So, what does this mean for you? You are not your thoughts. You are not your actions. You are not even your identity. You are the awareness that watches it all unfold. The observer is the observed. This is the crux of the message today. Your true essence is not caught up in the thoughts and emotions that make you feel like you are in control. The ego, the self, is just a story your mind tells to create a sense of identity. But the truth is, you are the one who is aware of this story, not the story itself. Later in this video, we'll get into how you can apply this concept in your own life and how it can shift your perception of reality. Now that we've explored the idea of the observer and how it relates to our thoughts, let's take a step further into how you can apply this awareness in your own life. Imagine for a moment you're in a conversation with someone. They say something that, for some reason, triggers you. Your body reacts before your mind has time to process, and you immediately feel anger or frustration rise within you. In this moment, you're no longer the observer. You are the reaction. This isn't something unique to you. It's a part of being human. But what if, instead of becoming entangled in the emotion, you simply observed it? What if you stepped back and watched the emotion arise without becoming one with it? This is where the real power of self-awareness comes in. The more you practice observing your thoughts and reactions, the more you begin to notice a space between your thoughts and actions. That space is where you can make a choice to act intentionally instead of reacting automatically. To illustrate this, let's look at the concept of mental space. In the rush of everyday life, our minds are constantly flooded with thoughts, opinions, and judgments. Most of the time, we're unaware of this mental clutter. However, in that small moment of awareness, the moment between the thought and the action, there is freedom. The more you practice observing that space, the more you can experience mental clarity and peace. Now, let's look at the neuroscience behind it. Studies in neuroplasticity show us that the brain is capable of rewiring itself with consistent practice. The more you bring awareness to your thoughts, the more your brain becomes efficient in creating new pathways that support this mindful state of awareness. This means that self-discipline, at its core, is about rewiring your brain to make better, more conscious choices in your daily life. There's a powerful tool in Buddhism called mindful awareness, which is the practice of staying present and observing without judgment. It's the art of being fully aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without attaching to them. This practice creates space where you can see the impermanence of everything, your thoughts, your emotions, and even the reactions that you have to life. When you realize that nothing is permanent, it's easier to let go of the need for control. And in doing so, you stop resisting the flow of life. Another essential element in building self-discipline is intention. Ask yourself, what do I want to create in my life? Instead of getting caught up in thoughts of who you think you are, focus on what you want to become. This intentional shift in mindset frees you from the traps of negative thought patterns and refocuses your energy on meaningful action. Many people think surrender is about giving up or losing control, but in reality, surrender is about accepting what is, right here, right now. It's not about giving up on goals or desires, but rather giving up the struggle against the present moment. When you surrender to the present moment, you break free from the ego's constant battle of wanting things to be different. This isn't passive acceptance, but an active engagement with reality as it is. In doing so, you allow life to flow through you rather than against you. Now that we've explored the importance of surrender and letting life flow through you, let's take a moment to really think about how this can be applied to the day-to-day challenges you face. When you let go of the need to control every situation, you invite freedom into your life. It's like trying to grip water with your hands. The harder you squeeze, the more it slips away. But when you relax your grip, you allow things to unfold as they naturally will. This freedom isn't just about letting go of external things. It's about creating space internally. And in that space, you start to notice how much of what you do every day is driven by unconscious patterns. These patterns aren't just habits, they're reflections of the ego's need to assert itself. They can look like reactions to stress, responding to other people's opinions, or following societal expectations. But when you observe without attaching to these patterns, you break free from the autopilot mode. This is where the real transformation happens. Think of a time when you acted impulsively. Maybe you snapped at someone or did something that you later regretted. If you'd paused and observed that urge to react, you might have realized that you weren't your reaction. Your true self was watching, waiting, and ready to respond in a more intentional way. This is the power of observing your thoughts before they dictate your actions. The more you observe your mind, the more you begin to recognize that you don't have to identify with everything that arises within it. In fact, many thoughts are simply mental chatter, random and transient. When you stop identifying with them, they lose their power over you. This is where self-discipline begins. It's about recognizing that you are not your thoughts, emotions, or impulses. You are the observer. When you start to consistently practice this form of self-awareness, you begin to see life in a new way. You stop feeling like you have to control every aspect, and instead, you learn to ride the flow of life with intention and presence. Imagine the clarity you'll gain when you stop identifying with your reactions. You'll find yourself making better decisions, being less impulsive, and responding more thoughtfully to challenges. There's a real, tangible benefit to practicing this. It's like clearing away mental clutter. Every time you stop reacting automatically and instead pause to observe, you're essentially giving your mind the space it needs to reset. In that reset, you begin to see the bigger picture, and you can make more aligned choices. As you continue this practice, you'll notice how much lighter you feel. The burden of carrying around so many thought patterns and judgments starts to lift. You create room for what really matters: clarity, peace, and intentionality. And this is the foundation of self-discipline, the ability to act with intention instead of being carried away by the tides of your automatic responses. Lastly, let's consider the role of habits. Building self-discipline isn't about forcing yourself into a rigid routine. It's about creating habits that support your highest self. When you act with intention, observe your thoughts without attaching to them, and practice mindfulness, you start to create a new set of habits. These new habits will not only improve your mental clarity, but will also help you maintain a consistent level of self-discipline. I hope this gives you a deeper understanding of how to practically apply the observer concept in your life to build self-discipline. By expanding your awareness and choosing to observe your thoughts rather than becoming identified with them, you will naturally make better, more intentional choices